Hi everyone, I'm Scott. My channel is called CineRam, and I thought that it would be a good idea to make a video or two before the end of the year. um, if you may have read a lot of film critics, film reviews, or film praise, you might have come across occasionally someone calling a particular movie pure cinema. What does that mean exactly? Well, cinema is essentially a visual medium. And although a lot of what we see is dialogue driven as far as establishing the stakes and moving the story forward, pure cinema might be considered something which is more visually oriented, where the actions, basically tell the story versus the dialogue. That isn't real common now, unless, of course, you're watching the latest John Woo movie, which just came out a few weeks ago, called Silent Night, in which the main character is a grieving father who loses his ability to speak and decides to get revenge on the criminals that inadvertently killed his son. Kind of like Face Off, only with less Nicolas Cage. Anyway, the gimmick in that movie is that there's very, very little spoken dialogue. Not only does the main character not speak at all, but the other characters really don't speak that much either, including his wife, who communicates to him through text message. Now, I understand why the main character, played by Joel Kinnaman, who can't speak, would communicate with his wife through text message, but why does she text him? Really doesn't make sense. I saw the movie a couple weeks ago. It's okay. I wasn't crazy about it. And I don't think that the gimmick of having a movie go entirely without dialogue, or almost entirely without dialogue, really works for that particular movie. For the most part, it's him preparing himself, training, learning weapons, and then going out and killing a bunch of people. But it isn't necessarily something that works during the first part of the movie. However, earlier this year in September, the former 20th Century Fox studio had movies released on Hulu, one of which was called No One Will Save You. I'm not sure if this movie was ever meant for theatrical release before the sale of 20th Century to Disney. But Disney owns it now, and so I guess they only decided that some of the content that they had acquired would go to theaters. No One Will Save You is on Hulu right now, and has been, and hasn't gotten a theatrical release. Nevertheless, I think it's very much worth checking out. And as far as the gimmick goes, if you see it as a gimmick, and some people I think probably would, of having an entire movie transpire with very little, if any, dialogue, No One Will Save You works a lot better than Silent Night. The story is basically you have a young woman who's living all alone in a house after her mother died, in a small community where she is kind of the town pariah. People don't like her, they aren't talking to her, and she is avoiding them. Hence, very little actual conversation. We learn a little bit here and there throughout the course of the story as to why this is. But soon, of course, trouble comes along in the form of an alien invasion. When she's asleep at one night, Bryn, the main character, played by Kaitlyn Dever, I think her name is pronounced, or it could be Dever. I'm not really clear on that. Kaitlyn Dever was one of the main characters in Booksmart, along with Beanie Feldstein. She's living all alone in this house in a small town, having very little contact, face-to-face contact with anybody. And then one night she's asleep, aliens arrive, and they try to abduct her, and she is fighting them off, one after another. Sometimes she's lucky, sometimes she's clever, sometimes she's just very tenacious. But, she keeps managing to avoid being sucked up into alien spacecrafts, so good on her. And, of course, since the aliens don't speak English, she, doesn't have a lot of reason to talk to them either when she's confronting them. So, again, long passages of time where we see what's happening and we get a sense of who she is and what the aliens are all about and what their abilities are, just by watching, just through action, which is really great. I'm really, really fond of this movie. I've seen some of the big movies that have come out throughout the course of the year. I've seen Killers of the Flower Moon. I've seen Oppenheimer and Barbie. I've seen some of the big ones that have come out recently that have gotten awards nominations. I haven't yet seen Poor Things or The Holdovers, although I intend to. But I find it difficult to imagine any of those movies surpassing No One Will Save You as my favorite movie of this year. It's really, really quite clever, and I just rewatched it for the second time actually earlier this week, and still really, really, really like it a lot. The directing is just, top notch. Everything is just very well staged. There's a lot of really great widescreen compositions as far as the photography goes. There's some really ingenious edits. And of course, sound plays a big factor as well. Lighting and sound, it's all really, really great. There's also the special effects. The aliens it looked like perhaps some practical, but it seems like they're mostly CGI, and they look really amazing as well. There's also a song that we hear a couple times throughout the movie called Knock on Any Door, which is a 1950s tune. Kind of a jaunty little number about how my hometown isn't a fancy place, but it's extremely friendly and welcoming. Oh, sweet, delicious irony, because, the movie is set in a town where the main character isn't liked by anyone and, is very not welcome for the most part. Anyway, really quite fond of this movie, and I wanted to recommend it. And so if you've got Hulu, please do check it out. Make sure you won't be distracted or interrupted. Turn out all the lights and sit back and enjoy. No One Will Save You. It's directed by a guy named Brian Duffield, who I'm not familiar with, but I read that he did a sort of a horror comedy with Katherine Langford called Spontaneous, in which high school students' heads start exploding. I haven't seen it. I don't know what that's like, but this one's very good. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.